Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. Just want to start by giving a big shout out to Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation. They are sponsoring this series of 4 classes. So if in case you were unaware, we're doing a 4-part series. Thanksgiving slightly interrupted it. But 2 weeks ago, we had our first one. This is our second one. And then the foundation is sponsoring 2 more next Thursday and then the Thursday after that. So yeah, just want to give a big thank you and shout out to them for allowing us to all be here and to work out together for the next few weeks. And no worries if you missed last session, whether it was live or recorded. These sessions don't necessarily, you don't have to come to one in order to be able to attend the next one. I do a pretty thorough job at explaining the exercises and what we're moving through. So folks that are either seated or standing, you're going to have multiple variations of variations for seated exercises and for standing exercises. So I'll be jumping back and forth, demonstrating both seated and standing movements for the warm-up and once we get into the circuit training part of the class, which I'm going to repost into the chat box. And just want to give kind of a welcome and a hello. So my name is Rachel. I have been doing this work and working with populations who have disabilities for over the past 10 plus years now. I was welcomed into this community more recently, starting with the conference that was just a few months ago, 2 months ago. So yes, it's been awesome getting to know people, and thank you to Leslie for pulling me into this community as well. Yeah. So for class today, just a few things. So we're assuming that if you are attending this class, taking this class, whether it is live or pre-recorded, that you have checked in with some kind of a medical or healthcare professional. So I encourage folks to move at your own pace. Again, the pace that I'm showing an exercise or maybe how much weight I'm lifting, you can always make it harder. You can always make it easier. But listen to your body. I care more about your form and your alignment while you're doing some of these movements, whether we're rotating or reaching overhead or squatting for folks that can stand. So I care more about your alignment than I do about how fast you're going or maybe how much weight you're lifting. So if you find during the class that, hey, this is too much, I can't keep up, or maybe I can pick this up a little bit, I just encourage you to listen to your body. And if that means that you need to slow down or not do quite as many repetitions or circuits, then please do that. Please take care of yourself. Feel free to grab water in the middle if you need to, and just jump back in whenever you're able to. I think I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. I think that is it. Listening to your body. And I also strongly encourage folks to, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I want this class to be at least somewhat interactive. So feel free to unmute yourself, shout out the question, and I can answer it kind of while I'm on the go. Or you can type into the chat box and I'll do my best to address it as quickly as I can. Once we get to the kind of the strength training circuit part of the class, I'm going to do a really thorough job of explaining all of the variations of that piece. And then I'll, again, type that into the chat box, just in case you're having a hard time seeing this. In fact, I'm going to spotlight my video. So hopefully you see me on your screen nice and big. But if you're still having a hard time seeing the whiteboard, don't worry, because I'm going to type it into the chat. It's in the chat box and I'll repaste it into the chat box. I think that is all of the announcements. I'm hoping I didn't miss anything. So I'm going to have folks go ahead and come to either a standing or a seated position. If you are a standing athlete and you find that maybe you can do half of the class standing and then you need to come to sitting for the rest of the half of the class, feel free to do that, or vice versa. If you feel like you could challenge yourself more and you are able to stand, I encourage you to do so. If you feel comfortable and if it is safe for you, Feel free to slip off your socks and shoes. We do a little bit of a warm up, just getting the feet and the hands going, because those are two of our really big sensory organs. So if that is safe for you, you can also slip the shoes off. Okay, so otherwise, I'll just have you come into, I'm just gonna mute everybody one more time. Remember, you can unmute yourself if you need to ask any questions. Okay, so I'm gonna be showing, I would say, slightly over the majority of these movements in a seated position for my seated athletes, but I will be doing a good amount in standing. So I'm gonna stay seated, but find a comfortable position for you where your feet are grounded either on the floor or the floor of your wheelchair. I'll have you close your eyes, and we're just gonna start with a body scan. So I want you to start by coming to your breath. You're gonna put one hand on your low belly, one hand on your chest. And I'm going to invite you to see if you could just nasal breathe. So what I mean by that is you're just breathing in and out through your nose, keeping your lips closed. If that's not accessible for you, don't worry about it. And you're just noticing where that breath is going. As you inhale, is it moving into your chest hand? Or are you able to sink that breath all the way deep into your belly hand? So without judging the breath, just seeing if you can take a nice belly breath. This is what we call diaphragmatic breathing. It helps calm the nervous system so that we can then get a good workout, which is what our nervous system wants. It wants to be in a relaxed state before we introduce movement. And I just want you to notice how your neck feels right now. You can kind of wiggle your head around. How your shoulders feel today. How does your back feel? If you're able to sense your hips and your legs and your feet, how do those parts of your body feel being supported by either your chair or the floor? Just feeling the weight of your body on the surface of whatever you're on. And lastly, go ahead and set an intention for class today. So that can be as specific or as general as you like. I'll give you an example. My intention for today is to focus on my breathing as I move. So it can be whatever is most applicable to you and your body right now. We'll take one more inhale. One more exhale, we'll open the eyes. We'll take the arms, we'll reach up towards the ceiling. If you're able to interlace the fingers, I encourage you to do so, pushing the palms up. And you're going to take an articulating roll all the way down to the ground. If you're a standing athlete, you're just doing the same thing, coming all the way forward. I want you to pause at the bottom. Breathe into the back of your ribs. And then slowly peel yourself back up as the arms come back up overhead. Lift the chest, look up at the sky, and then exhale, rolling back down. I want this to be an active roll. Don't let gravity do the work for you. So I want your abdominals working to pull you up and to pull you down. And on your next exhale, find your roll all the way back up, arms overhead. If it's hard for you to reach your arms overhead, you can also cross your arms over chest. I know we have some shoulder issues out there, so that's an option for you. We're gonna do this a couple more times. Inhale, this time I want you to shrug the shoulders up as high as you can, and then exhale, roll down. Try to round your spine as much as you can. Abdominals are active. This is where your spinal flexion or your core kicks in, and then rolling yourself back up. Yeah, this time I'm gonna have you rotate to the left. Find a roll down the left side of your body. You should feel a really nice stretch through your right torso. Take a breath into those ribs, and then roll yourself back up. Rotating to the other direction. rolling down. So we're on your right side now. We're breathing into your left ribs. And then we're rolling back up. Good. You're going to bring the arms behind you, interlace the fingers, open the chest. Okay. Release the hands. Give yourself a big hug. Round your upper spine and just find a half roll down. So you're just kind of trying to come into this big bear hug into yourself. That's it. Inhale, open the arms and chest and hands up towards the ceiling, up and out. Exhale, switch the cross of your arms and bury your head forward. Yeah, and again, inhale to open, finding that extension, and exhale to close. Again, I want your abs working for you here. Don't let gravity do the work for you. 2 more. Inhale to open. Yep. And exhale, close. Last one. Inhale to open. And exhale, close. Okay, we're going to play with the nervous system a little bit more. So we're just going to find a shaking of the arms, the shoulders. You can give your legs a little bit of a shake. And then you're going to bring fingertips to that area just under your collarbones. You're going to find a gentle tapping of that area. And I'm going to have you add a hum. Okay, so it'll look something like this. You can hum a song, you can hum a note. I want you to go all the way to the end of that exhale, breathing in through just your nose, if you can, and then finding another hum all the way out to the end of your exhale. And I want you to do that just a couple more times. This helps calm the nervous system. Remember, your nervous system is going to be more receptive when you're in a calmer state, when you're in your rest and digest, as opposed to your fight and flight nervous system. So finding that calmer side of the nervous system is always a good thing to do before movement, especially intense movement. Okay, we're going to bring hands up to the head. You're going to give your head the best head scratch that you've ever gotten, using your nails or your knuckles, whatever is accessible for you, moving all around the top of your head. It's okay if your hair gets messy, no one can see you. The hairline, the top. Good, and then go and just relax for a sec and just notice if anything is feeling different. Just gonna do one more thing here for the nervous system. Grabbing your earlobes, finding a gentle pull, this is gentle, down and back behind you. Grabbing the backs of your ears, pulling directly back behind you. Then grabbing the tops of your ears and pulling up like you're an elf. Yep. Grabbing that little nub in the front of your ear and pulling forward towards your nose. That one's a little harder. Okay, good. Release the hands, shake everything out. Yeah, that's great. Okay, we're just gonna start to bring the arms into a backstroke movement. If you're standing, I want your hips to really move with you. Yeah, so this isn't just from the arms. I'm seeing some people do this. I want a really big rotation if you're able to. There we go. Let the hip, that's better. Let the hips, let the chest rotate with you. You can even let your feet kind of swing off of the floor. You might notice my heels are coming off with me for my standing athletes. Yep. Good. And I want to bring the arms to goalpost arms. For my seated athletes, you're going to find an internal and an external rotation, goalpost arms up and down. My standing athletes, you have the option to do both arms and legs if you like, but you're going to find internal and external rotation with your hips. Heels together, heels apart, okay? So we're moving right at your hip joint if you're moving your hips, and if you're just moving your arms, or if you want to do both, that's also there for you. So we're just working a little bit through joint mobility here of the upper and maybe the lower body. Yeah. Okay, good. Coming back to the center, my seated athletes are going to find some elbow circles. So hands are just circling around the elbows. My standing athletes have the option to find knee circles around your ankles. And again, if you want to do both, you could do both too. And just playing, noticing for hands and for feet, what my feet are doing and what my hands are doing. Do my feet lift off the floor as I circle around? Everyone go ahead and switch directions. Are my hands making funny shapes? Is one side easier than the other side? So I encourage you to really notice what's going on with your body for these sessions. The more information you have from your body, the better you're going to be able to move. Okay. And coming back to the center. Seated athletes, we're going to put hands out in front of you like you're giving me a stop sign signal. And I want you to point the fingers down. If you're able to make a fist, make a fist. Fingers go up and spread, pulling the fingers back. A fist to go down, fingers to come up and spread. Make that active back and forth. For my standing athletes, you're going to find a heel and a toe raise. If you want to do both, you could do both. That will challenge your coordination and your brain. Yep. If you are standing and you want to add in a challenge, close your eyes as you do this, if that's safe for you to do so, and keep your balance. Yeah, and I'm just watching people here. For those that can lift their toes, I encourage you to really try to lift your toes, getting the fronts of your shins working. This can help with foot drop, ankle strengthening, and balance. Yes, good. Go ahead and shake everything out, upper and lower body. Okay, we're just going to play a little bit more with spinal mobility. I'm going to stay standing here, but I'll be showing you both parts. So everyone, we're going to take left arm, we're going to rotate back to the left. I want you to try to keep hips facing forward if you're standing. And then back to the center. Bring both hands together. Yeah, we're going to find an oppositional reach. So going the other way, right arm reaching back behind you as the left arm reaches forward. Just hold that for a second. Exaggerate that reach, like you're really reaching for something in front of you, and you're really reaching for something behind you. And then come back to the center. Yeah. Inhale to rotate. We're going to alternate sides, reaching in both directions. And exhale, center. Inhale to rotate. And exhale, center. Fingers are spread wide if you're able to. Your eyes go towards your back hand. And I want you to emphasize your eyes. I want you to feel like you're straining your eyes to see something on the wall behind you. We're going to be bringing a little bit of eye work into today to warm up your eyes, which also helps with your movement and your range of motion. Okay, coming back to the center, we're going to give everything a little bit of a shake. We're just going to give a little love to the head and the neck here. So grabbing with that area just under your collarbones, you're just going to give a little bit of a traction, just a little bit of a skin pull down. I'm going to have you look up at the sky, slide your lower jaw forward, and then look down at your belly button. Pull on that skin, look up, slide the lower jaw forward, down at your belly button. And just oscillating back and forth. And inhale to lift the head, jaw forward, and exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Yep, just do one more like that. And then exhale down. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna jump right into the circuit just so we leave enough time, we're doing a longer circuit this week compared to last week. We're gonna be doing a 15-minute circuit. I am going to repaste the circuit down into the chat box, just in case you're having a hard time seeing the board. So it's in the chat box now if you need it. Okay, so 15, for those of you that may not be familiar with some of the jargon, I'll talk you through this too. So I have in big letters, AMRAP. This stands for as many rounds as possible, okay? So when we're doing these circuits, I'm gonna alternate between the kinds of exercises I have and the number of exercises I have. And your goal, I have repetitions in red on the side, and your goal is to see how many rounds you could get through in 15 minutes. The reason I like this format is because it allows you to set your pace. We have a lot of different varying abilities. We have seated and we have standing athletes here. So this is kind of a choose your own pace and try to do it for as many rounds as you can within 15 minutes. Okay, so first exercise, I'm gonna start with my seated athlete. So you're gonna be doing running arms. Okay, so what this will look like is in a seated position. Hands are at your side, elbows bent. And as if you were sprinting, or if you've ever watched someone sprint a 100-meter dash, you're trying to rotate and run your arms as quick as you can. Okay, notice the difference though between this is just my arms moving and this is my whole torso moving with me. I encourage you to bring that rotation into this movement as quick as you can. We're connecting opposite sides of the body. So try to get as much rotation in there as quick as you can. You're going to be doing 50 each side. So what that means is right, left is 1, right, left 2, right, left 3. You're going for 50, okay? Just trying to make it natural. Elbows can stay bent into the side, no chicken arms here, okay? So everything is somewhat relaxed and you're just moving as quick as you can. My standing athletes have a couple of different options. You can either do, I'll give you my side profile, quick steps forward and back. So stepping right leg forward and back, and then left leg forward and back, okay? If you need to be in between a door frame or holding onto a counter, I encourage you to do so. If you want to make it harder, we're going to do quick feet. So that means you're jumping the feet as quickly as you can over an imaginary line back and forth, as quick as you can. Okay, so working on coordination and quickness here. Yeah, and I see some people doing that. So as I go through these exercises, whichever variation you can do, I encourage you to practice with me, just because I'm going to be talking for a few minutes to describe all the variations. Yeah, so keep moving with me if you can. Okay, you're doing 50 of those each side for both variations. Second exercise, left and right pushes for my seated athletes. So what that looks like is holding a weight. So you're gonna grab that dumbbell or water bottle. I'm using a soup can. You're gonna hold it into your chest. You would rotate to the left, punch it out to the left. Notice my spine isn't collapsing here, okay? So I'm using my core to hold me up, my back, everything in this area, as I punch it or push it out to the side, as if I'm handing that weight to somebody, and then off to the other side. I encourage you to use a heavier dumbbell if you have it, because you have both hands on one dumbbell. Okay, so whatever you have that will make this challenging, use that weight. For my standing athletes, you're going to be doing a side lunge. So feet start in together, kicking left leg out. I'll get this out of the way. Remember, with side lunges, your stance leg stays straight, your left leg will bend. So I'm pretending like I'm sitting into a chair that's kind of back behind me, and then I kick both feet together. I'm gonna scoot over so you can see me. Right leg out to the side, and then in. And you're just alternating back and forth, back and forth. If you want to hold weights for this, if that's too easy, go ahead and hold weights. Okay, so I just kind of have the arms dangling down in front of me as I do this. Be mindful that your knee does not go over your toe. Okay, so this is kind of the lazy way. I'm relying on my bones and my structures to hold me up, as opposed to pelvis and spine are neutral, and my glutes and my quads and my core are holding me up. Okay. And if you have any questions while we're going through this, please feel free to unmute yourself. You're going to be doing 10 of those on each side. 10 on each side, 20 total. Yeah, nice. I see some people joining. Okay, third exercise is I's, T's, and Y's. So holding your weights, this is going to look almost identical for my seated and my standing athletes. So holding the weights, I encourage you to use a light set of weights because this one can be challenging for rotator cuff muscles and back muscles. So my seated athletes are going to lean forward. Arms are dangling down towards the floor, okay? I keep a slight bend in my elbows the whole time, just a slight bend. For the I movement, the letter I pull back behind me, kind of like I'm a dart, okay? And then I let the arms go back to the center. The T letter, I bring my arms out to the side like an airplane or a T, and then back to the center. And for the Y, my arms come up more in an overhead Y position, okay? Notice, so for my seated athletes, if you're able to lean forward, I want you to lean forward because it puts more of the work into your back. If you need to do the single arm and have one hand on the leg while the other arm is moving, that is always there for you. And if none of those make sense for you, you can do this in a more upright position if leaning forward is maybe unsafe for you. My standing athletes are going to be getting a back line workout in here. So you're going to be holding a hip hinge position. My feet are hip distance apart. I have a slight bend in my knees, and I'm holding neutral in my pelvis and spine. Neutral just meaning kind of quote unquote this flat back and flat pelvis. So not tucked under me and not hyperextended, but nice and flat like a tabletop. And I'm finding the same movements I just described, I's, T's, and Y's. Be mindful to keep your abdominals engaged so that your ribs aren't flaring and you're not dumping an extra load into your low back, okay? So you're keeping all of this really solid as the shoulders move around you. Notice nothing in here is moving. You're going to be doing 15 of those total. So what I mean by total is each movement counts as one. So I is 1, a T is 2, and a Y is 3. You're doing 15 total. Fourth exercise is going to be bicycles. Okay, you have a lot of options for this one. For my seated athletes, if you're able to bring the hands behind your head, go for it. Otherwise, you can have arms crossed over the chest, okay? I'll show you this version. You're going to be finding a bicycle, meaning I'm aiming my armpit for the opposite hip. I'm rounding my spine. I'm using my abdominals. I'm not letting gravity do the work. I'm doing the work. Okay, so armpit to opposite hip, finding that cross-diagonal connection. If you're a seated athlete with movement in your legs, you have the option to lift that knee up to greet your armpit, your opposite armpit, if that's there for you, okay? Standing athletes have the option to do that exact same thing, but from a standing position, marching the opposite knee up to the armpit. Being mindful, what I see a lot is as you march that knee up, your stance leg, your balancing leg starts to bend and collapse. So as you're doing this, can you keep that stance leg really straight and really strong for you as you find that movement? I actually care more about your stance leg than I do about the knee coming up. Yeah, that's great. You have one more option for those of you that are able to and want to get down on the floor. Make sure you can see me here. You're going to be doing more of what we call a traditional bicycle on the floor. So you're finding the same movement of bringing armpit to opposite hip as that knee pulls in, okay? So if you can't get down the floor or you want to, you have that option also. We're almost done. Fifth and final exercise for my seated
Can I
athlete.
ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
In the seated position, when you said use your abdominals, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I mean by that is oftentimes, I'm going to give you my profile, when we're doing these movements in an upright position, meaning you're not flat on the ground, right now, if I roll down or if I'm doing a bicycle here, I can collapse, meaning I can let gravity do the work for me. Nothing in my abdominals is engaged. I'm just letting my body basically sink down towards that hip or towards the floor. As opposed to me imagining like I'm not going to let gravity do the work for me, or even imagining like I'm on the ground, what it feels like to get out of bed in the morning, where you have to lift your head up and lift your body up and maybe kind of prop yourself up out of bed. Your abdominals are working. So what I mean by that is I'm actively right now, or I'm really, really trying to pull my armpit to my opposite hip. I'm not letting gravity do that work for me. I'm really, really trying to bring it a little bit closer. So it's an active movement as opposed to a passive collapse. Yeah, does that make sense?
I understand the active, but the abdominal part, am I supposed to be squeezing, or just the fact that I'm raising my arms and turning is activating the abdominals, or?
Yeah. So if squeezing means for you like an active pull, then yes, that's exactly what I want. Just language wise, I don't typically use the term squeeze because sometimes people will do this where they're holding their breath and they're bearing down. Right. And I actually don't want that because for a lot of reasons it increases intra-abdominal pressure and it actually doesn't do what we want it to do. So if squeezing for you means like I'm really trying to round my back, I'm trying to bring my nose to my belly button as actively as I can, or I'm trying to come into a bicycle as actively as I can, then yes, squeeze, it works. But yeah, it just means engaging this whole area. If you touch this area and you feel any kind of engagement, then you've got it. You doing the movement for sure is using the muscles in those areas, but I'm just kind of bringing your attention to, can we make that more mindful and maybe even more active? Can you go a couple inches more?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay. Great. So yes, thank you for that. That's a great to point out. Okay, so fifth and final exercise is going to be opposite arm pulls for my seated athletes. So what that will look like is in a seated position, holding your dumbbells or soup cans. You're gonna lean forward. You're gonna find something similar to the Ice Teas Wise. One arm goes up while the other arm goes back behind you. My palms, both palms are facing forward and then back to the center. And then alternating, other arm forward, other arm back, and center, okay? So you're just alternating between the left arm and the right arm, going back and forward, finding that lean forward if you can. For my standing athletes, you also have a couple options here. If you're able to get down on the ground, you're gonna find what we call a bird dog or opposite arm leg. So in a quadruped position, kicking right arm and left leg out, touching hand to the knee, and then coming out again. If that's not realistic for you, okay, you can also just move one arm at a time or just move one leg at a time, okay? If getting down on the ground is not super accessible for you, I'm gonna have you lean against a wall, not a door like I just did, so you fall over. I'm gonna kind of give you my side profile. Imagining I'm leaning against this wall, and I'm gonna lift one arm and one leg back behind me, and then the other arm and the other leg back behind me. So I'm still finding that same opposite arm and leg lift off, okay? If you don't have a wall, you could also just do that in a standing position, single leg balance, alternating back and forth, opposite limbs are moving together. Yeah, okay, yeah, that looks good. I see some people trying that against a wall. Great. Okay, so I think we are ready. You're doing, by the way, you're doing 16 of those total, 16 total. Okay, so again, you've got 15 minutes, as many rounds as you can. I typically play music for my, for the circuit part of the class, but just because this is a new class and we're all getting used to it, we're gonna go no music. Feel free to look at my screen whenever you need to, or ask me a question whenever you need to. Maybe we'll do music for the last session or so. Okay, so no music, you've got 15 minutes. The first exercise, you're starting with running arms or quick feet for 50 on each side. And then you're just gonna cycle through this circuit as many times as you can in 15 minutes. Count how many rounds you do, and I'll have you type it into the chat box at the end. We can make it a little competition if you'd like. Okay, are we ready? I see some smiles and some not smiles. Okay, you've got 15 minutes on the clock. I'm gonna be showing you the seated variations first, and then I'll move into the standing variations. Okay, on your marks, get set, and go. Starting with running arms or quick feet. Yeah, nice work, everyone. That looks great. If you're moving to the next one, you've got left, right pushes or side lunges, 10 on each side. If you're doing the left, right pushes, I want your palms facing in and your thumbs up. Palms facing in, thumbs up, yep. It just keeps your shoulder in a more neutral position. Yeah. If you're moving to the third exercise, you've got I's, T's, and Y's for 15 total. Remember, elbows have a very slight bend in them. You're trying to engage all of those muscles in between your shoulder blades. And if you're standing or seated, you're leaning forward if that is safe for you to do so. If you're moving to the fourth exercise, you're moving to bicycles, 20 on each side. Can you find a consistent breath? Maybe inhaling for 1, exhaling for 1, or inhaling as you move down and exhaling as you move up. Yeah, nice work, everyone. If you're moving on to the 5th one, opposite arm pulls or bird dog for 16 total. Remember, palms stay facing forward to help that shoulder stay in neutral. Yeah, that looks great. Just gonna watch people here for a sec. I'm gonna now move into showing you the standing variation. Keep moving through, find a good pace. You're about 5 minutes in, everyone. You're 5 minutes in, 10 minutes to go. If you are doing the side lunges, just a reminder to keep one leg straight and the leg that you're moving towards, to keep that knee behind the toes. So you're reaching your hips back behind you, as if you were sitting your butt back into a chair that was really far back behind you. This allows you to sink into your hip socket a little bit more. Nice work, everyone. You're 7 minutes in. Find a pace that you can sustain for the next 8 minutes. If you need to take a break, listen to your body. If you feel like you could increase your pace or increase your weight, then go for it. Nice work, everyone. Trying to lift your knee as high as it will go if you're doing the bicycles. We'll make the movement a little bit harder. And if you're doing the bird dog variation, whether you're on the floor or on a wall, you're trying to keep the whole center of your body really steady. Core stays steady, chest stays steady, and it's just your arm and your leg that are moving. Keep going, everyone. Keep going. Just answering some questions here. You're 10.5 minutes in. You got 4.5 minutes left. I'm going to go back to the seated variation. Last 4 minutes. If you're feeling tired or hot, you're not alone. You're doing great.
Is there anything with the breathing on this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to inhale for a couple of strokes and then exhale for a couple of strokes. And that might vary. You know, maybe you do an inhale and exhale for one arm. Maybe you can do an inhale for 3 strokes or for 4 strokes, depending on your speed. But just something that's smooth. Really, the main reason I cue people's breath is to avoid holding your breath and to make sure that the breath is smooth on the inhale and the exhale. So as long as you're not holding your breath, that's the biggest thing. And I am losing count, so I'm just going to keep moving through this. I'm going to give you one more challenge for your last 2.5 minutes here. You can take it or leave it. If you are able to just nasal breathe for the last 2 minutes, try to come back to just nasal breathing. This is the hardest part of the circuit. This might not be doable, but if you can, just breathing through your nose. We'll make it a little bit harder for cardio, for your lungs. It's good for your nervous system. It's good for your blood pressure. It's good for a lot of things. If it's not accessible for you, don't worry about it. Just one last challenge. You've got 2 minutes left. Nice work, everyone. You're almost there. Pace yourself, push yourself.
When it's ITY, are you making the shape of ITY?
Yeah, so it's, my eye looks like this.
Okay.
My T looks like this. And then my Y looks like this.
Got it.
It's kind of an overhead.
Okay.
So I is back behind you, T is at shoulder height, and Y is overhead. The reason we do it at these 3 angles is just to hit all of the parts of the muscles in between your shoulder blade at all 3 of those angles. Yeah. Okay, 10, 9, keep going, get a few more reps in. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right. Nice work, everybody. Go ahead and grab some water, cool off if you need to, take care of yourself. Yeah, Leslie, awesome. Yes, and then thank you for the reminder. Go ahead and type into the chat box how many rounds you got through. So if you got through 3 rounds and maybe 2 exercises, you could say 3.2, or you could say, oh gosh, you could say 3 rounds plus 60, counting up the number of reps. And I'll just shout these out. You don't have to do this, it's just kind of friendly competition. Leslie got 3.5. Shaylin and Beth got 2.5. Allegra got about 2. Kyle did 5. Nice work, Kyle. Denise did 3. Victoria did 3.2. Yeah, I love it. Feel free to keep writing in. If you chat me privately, I won't shout it out, but I see some private reps in there also. 3 from Elise, 3.1 from Sharon. Irene did 4. Awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing, everybody. So it's kind of good to keep track of your numbers too, even though we won't do the same variation of exercises next week. It's just a good thing to kind of keep track of for personal growth and to compare from week to week. Martha got 3.1. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody. I appreciate it. Let's just hop right into a cool down here, and then I'll take the last few minutes for questions. So I'll just have you come back to a seated or a standing position, something that is grounded in some way. Okay, we're gonna raise the arms up towards the ceiling. We'll grab the elbows, so we've got a square around our head. If we have shoulder issues, we can also cross the arms over the chest. We're going to take a side bend to the left. Yep, and a side bend to the right. I'm sorry, I think I just got my lefts and my rights confused because I'm mirroring you. But just keep oscillating, side to side, breathing into the open ribs. We'll come back to the center, find a nice heavy roll all the way down to the floor. Pause at the bottom, find your breath into the back of your ribs. And then slowly peel yourself back up. Good. We'll bring the arms down towards the side. Just finding a few shoulder circle rolls. So inhaling, shrug the circles up, and exhale down. Okay. I'm going to have my standing athletes find a quad stretch. If that is available for you, you might need to hold on to something. And I'm going to have my seated athletes either come into a tricep stretch overhead, or you're just going to give yourself a big hug, opening up that space in between your shoulder blades, breathing into that area. Go ahead and switch sides if you're standing. Yeah, and if you're doing the tricep stretch, you can also switch your arm direction. Breathing into that. Good. Coming back to the center. Finding just a couple of neck rolls, circling in one direction. I want you to be mindful that your shoulders are down and back for this one. Try not to throw your head back. It's just a small circle. And then going in the other direction. Bring your eyes with you. Let your eyes move around. Yeah. And then come back to the center. All right. I'll have you close your eyes again. Let's bring one hand to the low belly, one hand to the chest. Seeing if you can return to nasal breathing. And seeing if you can keep your chest hand really still as you breathe into your belly hand. Noticing the weight of your body either on the chair or on the floor, feeling your feet, maybe feeling your sit bones or feeling your back against the chair. I want you to think of one thing you're grateful for today, or maybe one reflection of class, maybe something you're proud of. We'll take one more inhale, one more exhale, and we'll open the eyes. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. And thank you again to the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation for sponsoring these classes. Yes, they're making this possible. And if you have any reps, I'll stick around for a few minutes here. Otherwise, everyone here, and if you know folks that maybe weren't able to attend live, will receive a recording of the class once we've kind of made it fancy and have brought it to life. So you'll hopefully receive that in the next 1 to 2 days. Even feel free to take the class maybe this weekend or at the beginning of next week. And then I'll see you all next Thursday, same time, same place. And we will continue on.